everyone, so I have a good amount of books that I really want to read this fall. Fall is my favourite season and I'm a September baby, so that might be partly why. So I have my stack here. Let's go through the ones that I physically have. First off, the one that I've just started reading because I literally finished my last book last night. I also have my September book roundup, so that either is out before or after this. So if you also want to know what I read in September, also some autumn stuff, check that out. But I'm starting The Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. I went to a book signing last week and she signed this for me, which was really nice and fun, and she was really cool. But yeah, I hadn't actually heard of her before, but she came to my local bookstore and I was like, oh my gosh, cool. So I went and yeah, it sounds really good. It was basically, from what she was saying, it's basically like this was one of the first popular fantasy books and series that came out at the time when publishers were really looking for fantasy, but most of it was sort of fantasy aimed at men and had very strong male characters and not many strong female characters. And this one is where we sort of start to see fantasy becoming more, or at least just as much, about female main characters as well and powerful women. So that's really cool. I'm excited to read this one because it just feels kind of witchy, just fantasy in general feels quite autumnal. It doesn't exactly feel summery, does it? So I feel like this is a good way to start the month. It's quite short, it's only about 300 pages, so I reckon I can read this in a couple days if it's good. That's the thing, everyone says like, oh, I'm a fast reader and blah, 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 but it's like, yeah, I am if I enjoy the book. If I enjoy a book, I can read it in one sitting. Like, it depends how much I enjoy it and how interested I actually am in reading the pages. It's essentially about a girl who is about to be executed because she's found guilty of murder, but then she is offered a reprieve by the security assassin of the kingdom, and she becomes a new food taster where she has to taste all the poison, if there is poison, in people's food. But there's a secret that she has, and I don't know what that secret is yet, so I can't tell you, but I'm very excited. Just feels very dark, mysterious. This is a whole series as well. There's also the magic study, and there's something else study as well. So if I like it, then I will buy the whole thing. But yeah, one that I just wanted to mention that I actually read before this one, I read in September, but I would really recommend for a fall book if you're looking for one, is Happy Medium. This is a romance, which isn't what I normally go for. I say this all the time, but I'm going to say it in every video. I like romance when it's got an extra element. I don't like a contemporary romance that is just a simple romance that could there's no extra element to it. This one is witchy. It's about a woman that's pretending to be a medium, but then she goes to this guy's house to try and get rid of all the spooky things happening, and she meets a ghost, and the ghost is a funny character in this book. It's cozy. It's not the most well-written, most developed thing I've ever read, but it is short, it's cozy, and it goes exactly how you'd expect it to go. There's not really any twists or turns. I didn't really like the male main character. I didn't really like fancy him or anything, which I love in a romance, but never mind. But yeah, I do wish there was a bit more witchiness in it. Like, I wish she could have done like a tarot reading or something, and she just didn't. But the idea of the ghost was quite funny, and he was a good, interesting character. And yeah, this was actually part of my book club's book, so I'm excited to tell everyone about that next week, what we thought about it. Now, I watched Vampire Diaries when I was like 9 or something, probably before I should have watched it, but anyway. And since then, every single year, I rewatch the Vampire Diaries in autumn. It gets to the 1st of October. Actually, I've started it early this year, but normally at least the 1st of October, and I am back watching Vampire Diaries. I've never been a Twilight girl. I've never read it. I've never even watched the films of Twilight because it's just never appealed to me, because I kind of grew up with it just being taken the mick out of. So why would I then go watch it if everyone's saying how bad it is? Do you know what I mean? However, I have a love for vampires, and that's probably where my love for fantasy in general grew. So we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I am so excited to read this. This is basically vampires. Other than that, I don't know too much, and I kind of want to leave it at that because every single person that's talked about this has said they loved it. There's a lot of books that I see online, on BookTok, for example, where there are most people saying it's good, but there's always a few that are like, I don't really get the hype. This is one where I've not seen any single thing saying it's bad or they didn't like it in any way. So I don't see how I couldn't not love it. And the second one, she's got a novella that's already out, and the second one comes out soon. I think the second one comes out in November. So I'm tempted to make this my last book for fall, just because I feel like then once I finish it, I can then just dive straight into the next one, because that's the only problem. If I do end up loving it, I've then got to wait for the sequel. It is quite long. It's about 600 pages, so this might take me a week max, hopefully a bit less, but I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited. Everyone talks about how good this is. I think it's going to be a new hit, and once the full series is out, I don't ever want to compare anything to Acotar because I think it's just so different, but I do think that this will be up there as a series once it's all finished. Like, as long as she keeps making the series go well, as long as she doesn't do a divergent on the last book, we'll be fine. And then I picked up this book in the works, Filthy Rich Vampires. I haven't seen much about this online. However, it was in the works, and the whole series is like £2.50 each book. However, I need to stop buying series in one go unless I know I'm going to love it, because I did that with Red Queen, and after the first book, couldn't get into the rest of it, didn't like the rest of it. I couldn't even get past the second book really I had to basically DNF it all and just skim read them. So I've learnt my lesson now. I'm going to just buy the first book, and even though it's a bit more expensive in the long run, I will just buy each book individually. So this is also about vampires, and again, it's just giving autumn, winter energy. I don't want to say vibes, I hate vibes, but do you know what I mean? It is. And it kind of almost seems like Gossip Girl, like a kind of high society, modern, there's no actual Gossip Girl in it, like there's no like gossip column, but like, you know, it kind of feels like it's very high society based, but with vampires. And I find that really cool. So I'm excited. I hope I'm going to like it. I might find it a bit too, I don't know if it's YA or not. We'll see. It might be a bit too cheesy if it's how I imagine, but it might not be. We'll see. Now, I have 2 books that I literally ordered 2 days ago that were supposed to come today. They're coming tomorrow, and I'm so sad, but I'm so excited for them. I bought The Spell Shop. I have seen this everywhere online. I haven't seen many people talk about it, but I've seen it in sort of like Amazon Waterstones lists, always getting like encouraging people to buy it, and it looks really pretty. Like, how autumnal does that cover look? Like, it just gives me, I mean, to be fair, it actually could be read in summer as well, because it is very cottagecore. But from what I gather, it's quite a cozy fantasy. Nothing too crazy happens in it. From what it says, anyway, it might be a big twist. But it seems like, yeah, just a very cozy, like, I don't always love a book that doesn't have a very strong plot. Sometimes I want a really strong plot, but it kind of depends. Like, if I've read a really strong fantasy with a really strong plot, I like a break to then read some romance, or, you know, something that's just a bit simpler. I don't have to get into the world as much, blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited for this. It feels like it's going to be very cozy, very fun, and it's going to be more about the characters. I also bought The House Witch and the Enchanting of the Hearth. This is the first book in a series, so if I like this one, I'll get the second one. But this also just looks really cute and cool. And I think this one has a male main character. And I was thinking, I actually don't think I've read a book with a male main character, like where he is the main character. I've read ones where there's like a dual POV and like the male main character is important, but not one where it's like fully the whole book is his perspective. You know, I haven't read that in a while, not since like I read The Witcher, which I also love, but anyway. So I'm excited / interested to get into that. Again, though, it feels cozy. I feel like at the minute it's quite nice to read books that don't have too much crazy drama. I've never been someone that likes reading a book that makes you cry. I know a lot of people like that. I have cried over a book a few times, not many, a few. And it was mainly when I was younger, because now I kind of actively try not to pick up those books. Yeah, I want something that is cozy, fun. I can just sort of read with my little fairy lights on in the evenings. I'm an evening reader. I read in the evenings and to go to sleep. So yeah, it feels like I don't really want action, at least for a couple of weeks. I've just finished the Bridge Kingdom series I actually have here. It's like the series of 4, but after the second book it changes to the story of these 2 other people that I just don't care about, so I'm not going to read it. But those 2 books were really good, but that had very strong high fantasy plot, like a war and like lots of fighting and stuff like that. And as much as I like that, I think it's nice to then break that up with some coziness. So yeah, for example, Happy Medium in our book club, the book before this was a book it was basically Angela Carter's Fairy Tales, which I talk about in my September book roundup, so I won't talk about much here. But it was very gothic and very intense and very dark and had a lot of disgusting themes that I can't even tell you about. So it was nice to then have Happy Medium, a very sort of kitschy romance, nothing too serious. I think that's the thing with romance. As long as you don't take it too serious, you will enjoy it. Like, I think if I looked at this as like a proper piece of art or like a really well-written book, I probably wouldn't like it. But if I look at it as it's a bit of fun, it's quite funny in parts, there's a talking ghost like who's just wreaking havoc on this house, and the main character is quite funny, then, you know, it's fine. It makes you laugh, it's lighthearted, it's okay. You know, it's not going to be, I don't know, Dracula. Like, it's just not. But that's okay. Another book that I really want to buy. In fact, this is the only book on my full TBR that I actually now want to buy. There are other books obviously on my TBR and other books I'd love to get, but in terms of full theme, this is the only other one that I really want to get. And it's Rewitched, but specifically the Waterstones edition, because the sprayed edges are so gorgeous. And it's not even that much more expensive than normal hardcover. So I keep going into Waterstones trying to find it, but I don't think it's in stock in my local one. So I may have to deliver, which I hate doing with Waterstones, because the whole fun for me with book shopping is going into the shop and exploring. Even if I know exactly what I'm getting, it's just fun walking around and like romanticizing it, getting a coffee, getting a cake, and then like wondering, like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's an experience. If I'm going to be buying a book, I want it to be a bit more fun. So I only really order books if they're definitely not in stock anywhere. But I am going to London in a couple weeks, and I will be going to Waterstones Piccadilly, which, as you may know if you're English, it's basically the biggest European bookstore, biggest European Waterstones. I think it's the biggest European bookstore, which is crazy. And I've actually never been. Like, I've been to all the other Waterstones in London, but for some reason just not that one, because I never go Piccadilly. So I'm going to actively go there and explore that, and then hopefully it will be in that one, but I will check before I go. But anyway, that is up there. And again, that a lot of people are basically saying how I've seen some worse reviews on this, basically saying there's not much plot and blah blah blah, but that's okay. If that's the worst thing they can say, I don't really mind. Like, I liked the Atlas 6, and that had not really any plot. It was just about the characters and their journeys, and sometimes I love that. Not in every single book, but every now and then. And Rewitched, basically everyone is saying it's like Gilmore Girls, but, you know, set now, and I think she owns a bookshop, which is pretty much every reader's dream, isn't it? So I think if you're going to write a book where the main character works or opens a bookshop, I just feel like that's going to go down well with your audience, because that's what they'd love to romanticize and do. So even if it's just a book about her living life, running this bookshop, I think I'd enjoy it. So, but we'll see, because sometimes the sprayed edges are there to just like make up for what's actually in the book, but we'll find out. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that the audio was okay. It's hard when I film in here, it's so echoey, so I use this little microphone, but then sometimes it gets a bit loud and a bit crackly, so I've been really careful with it, but let me know what you think. I'm also going to be filming more in my bedroom, and hopefully that will be quieter and have less echoes, so I will be working out what works best. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what's on your fall TBR. What books are you reading this fall? What books do you want to get? What do you want to buy? What do you want to read? All of that. And yes, I will now be vlogging pretty much every week of October and into November. So, you know, you will see me reading all of these books, and I will let you know how I feel and what I think about them. And also check out my Goodreads, TikTok and Instagram below, because I also post updates on there too. I also have a new Etsy store where I've been selling some bookmarks that I've designed that I really enjoy. So please check that out as well if you'd like. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.